session sometime back when we were in, I think then they were organizing a meetup in Gujarat or some other place, and like and a hackathon again. So I couldn't commit to it due to some reasons, but then like really happy with kind of like what we could do this time. So this is pretty basic session. If I have to tell you, if you are somebody who is looking to get started with the technology of Elastic, that's why I put Elasticsearch Observe Protect. So this walks through you a very basics of Elasticsearch, and what are the various ways that you could use the software for, and more in that format. But this is definitely not more into, I should definitely say that this is definitely not an advanced session, and this is something that talks about the essence of what the stack and everything is. So talking about that, I'm Arvind, and I work at Elastic as a developer advocate, and I look after the developer relations and work with the communities. We get a lot of meetups and conferences. Elastic is basically a search company, and there are a lot of use cases for Elasticsearch or the stack. And even 5 years before, I've heard about Elastic, say like in a DevOps meetup. Then they were talking about something called ELK stack, or called as ELK stack, and I have really no idea. And then I started learning about it, and I felt really amazing about the various things that Elasticsearch can do, and how quickly as a developer we can use in a project, or simple project. All that we need to know is some APIs. So that is very useful for me to get started. But today there are many things that you could do with Elastic, and then that's how like things are going to play out very well. So let me just get started with some examples. So like I said, Elasticsearch uses say like Elasticsearch uses it for various use cases. One being one most top use case, like as it is in the name, one major use case that many people talk about is like the search. So so when you go to a ride sharing app like Uber, you put a point A and point B on a map, and you try to get a driver, right? The car. So the rider driver pairing happens on Elasticsearch. So and then you get a car, and then you take the ride. So but the entire connection happens on Elasticsearch. So similarly, there are many other use cases. Say whenever you are searching for your favorite dish on food delivery platform like Zomato or Swiggy, you search on these restaurants, and then you kind of you book the food, and food comes to you. But in the process, you try to filter, you try to do a lot of interesting stuff. So that happens on Elasticsearch. So basically, Elasticsearch is such a search engine wherein you can create interesting search experiences, irrespective of the programming language that you know, irrespective of the framework in a specific programming language. You could simply build a great search experience using Elasticsearch. But it doesn't really stop at search essentially. So search is one particular area, but there are tons of other use cases. Say something like when you're doing left swipe or right swipe on Twitter, when you're searching for love, right? Or when you're looking at something like a Samsung mobile phone, or a large enterprise like Samsung, or even when you're ordering groceries on a site like Instacart. Instacart is a very popular groceries shopping website, just like Big Basket in India. Even like I have heard that there are a bunch of stuff that like Big Basket even uses Elasticsearch. So lot of use cases, lot of ways that you could use Elasticsearch for. I'll show you some of them. I'll try to make sure that I'll take more and more questions in the session, rather than being like more of if I have to tell you more of like presenting slides, etc. So basically, the basic tenets of the technology is on three specific principles that we still abide to. and it's from the day one, or the solution or the language or the system is created, has been created on these three things, if I have to tell you. So first one is like the speed. So when we think of search, you inherently think of something like speed. So imagine your Google, when you type in Google, and it takes forever, or it takes a bit of time even sometimes, and then you doubt your internet. You would not doubt the capability of Google to give you the result in a quicker manner. So basically, like speed is an essential inherent character, just like how we breathe, right? Breathing and human beings are pretty common. You don't even realize that you're breathing even when you're speaking, right? So speed is such an inherent character for a search or a search system, wherever, however you implement, right? I mean, even without using Elasticsearch, speed is an inherent thing. Similarly, when you think of search, you should be able to delegate, and you should be able to query large amounts of data. So scale is one another thing that you should think about when you're building a search solution. At the same time, relevance is another area where we might not really understand or think about it, but lot of data when you search for example, when you're searching for something like a payment provider, say something like you're searching for Netflix, and you expect Netflix to come in as a first result, or you expect some related link of Netflix to come in when you are searching, you would definitely not expect to see something other than Netflix, right? So how do you manage this particular thing? So relevancy is something that what people were searching, and what is something that is relevant to that. What are the top 10 links that are relevant to that? So this is what is relevancy or scoring is. So this plays an another important place in the search solution. Like I spent quite a bit of time, but these are the meta things that help you build something very interesting. So let me go and quickly and also like show what we exactly build, or what we exactly develop solutions on top of this core stack called Elastic Stack. So there are three specific things that we use for, like one being the one being that the search that I keep talking about. Then we also use, or you can also use Elastic for observability and also security. Like we have an endpoint protection, an antivirus or a malware solution, anti-malware solution, which detects and protects you from threats. Really, like you could do that because it entire thing, search plays a foundation for all of this actually. So that is why a lot many people realize that, oh, you can do all of this using the common stack called Elastic Stack. So yeah, these are the names of the solution actually. Now, now basically each of the solution expands into an individual, technological paradigms. Like for example, uh, enterprise search can be used as like workplace search, app search, or site search. So if I have to quickly tell you what is a workplace search, suppose if you have your college or your office wherein there is a lot of documents, PDFs. See, say there are a lot of leave policy documents or something that is there in abundance, and you want to search on top of multiple data sources and want to give out an experience. It's called workplace search. Or if you have at colleges as well, you could see something which is really relevant to this. App search, on the other hand, is more or less something like, if I have to tell you, app search is your suppose if you are seeing sites like Cardeko, Zomato, Swiggy, all of these has a inherent data set. They have specific product catalog, or even e-commerce site. You could build app search actually on top of it. And also, like, you have something like site search. Site search is having our proprietary crawler through which you can crawl sites, just like Google, and then you could build a search experience. I would definitely ask you to take a look at how site search works and how site search looks, which is very, very interesting. Now now these are the explanations, or how each of these things look like. So I'll not cover everything, but I just, like, for your information, this is how the workplace search looks like. And then we are really, really Elasticsearch or Elastic Stack is very popularly used for observability as well, say logs, metrics, APM, and uptime. So each one has its own usability. For example, an observability solution gives you unified visibility across your entire infrastructure or your even your organization as well. So this is more of like opsy in nature, like wherein you have things deployed in various places and you want to like look into that, how data is flowing, how is analytics. I mean, look at analytics, monitor, detect, and react to events. At the same time, you also have Elastic Security, which is like useful for doing SIEM or endpoint related solutions, which is useful for finding out advanced threats and that are originating. And we also have a custom UI through which you'll be able to find out. It's called Resolver, through which say if there is something that is getting injected into your existing executable, and then if you want to find out what is that and how it is playing a role, if you want to do security incident analysis, if you want to do threat hunting, Elastic Security can be the way that to go look at it. All of this is based on the common stack, Elasticsearch, Kibana, Beats, and Logstash, where Elasticsearch is a distributed system. That means you need multiple machines to I mean, like it works on multiple machines, like parallel computing or scalable scales parallelly, and like you can uh, uh, use multiple, like that there can be like multiple GBs or TBs of data it can search and give you results. It can do analytics on top of it. It is based on REST API. That's why I was telling, like irrespective of what programming language that you use, you can simply kind of leverage Elasticsearch anywhere. Then you have Kibana, which is your window into Elasticsearch through which all the UI related things happen. And then you have Beats and Logstash, which is the ingestion modules. And you can contribute to each one of them as well. So it is not like you kind of like don't contribute to, you can also contribute to them as well. Then this is the stack that I just previously spoke about. Elasticsearch also has several other use cases, like wherein IoT related use cases as well. So you could use it on rovers. I mean, people use it for different use cases. Now then, the solution can be deployed on any cloud, like be it AWS, GCP, or even something like Azure. And then you could also like deploy it on Kubernetes if you have heard about Kubernetes. So that is one other thing to really look for. I'll just quickly turn around and show you some more interesting details about Elasticsearch, and then I'll also take some questions so that like we can have some discussion. So basically, like when you're thinking about Elasticsearch, there are some basic concepts that you might want to learn about, so that like you are well aware when people talk about each one of them. So Elasticsearch, like I said, is a distributed system, and it operates in a cluster topology. Like a cluster is a collection of one or more nodes or servers, right? Multiple servers. You could also run Elasticsearch on a single node, but a cluster is something that helps you to do more and more stuff. And then you have something like a node. Like node is something that where your Elasticsearch process runs. So let's say you download Elasticsearch and you deploy it on a, put it on your laptop, go to bin folder and like say start, and then it simply starts. And then like you can call that as Elasticsearch node. So a bunch of nodes which work together forms a cluster. So a node is whenever somebody says a node, that means a machine which is running Elasticsearch. Just like how your machine is running Google Chrome or Zoom, in a larger way, your server running Elasticsearch is called Elasticsearch node. Then you also have pretty interesting stuff like say indexes keep coming everywhere whenever you're talking about Elasticsearch. So an index is a collection of small documents which has somewhat similar characteristics. So if I have to say that an index is your logical home for your data. So when you just like your SQL, in Elasticsearch you create indexes actually. So you don't create you kind of like create multiple indexes. You can create multiple indexes, but you can store all the data in the index and search on top of your indexes. Then your indexes contain documents. Now document in Elasticsearch is JSON document. It is not, it is not which gets stored, like JSON doesn't get stored like literally like JSON. We optimize it, but basically like you send JSON to any API in Elasticsearch or the Elastic ecosystem. Now the indexes contain shards. So what I'll do is like I'll explain you more in detail with an example. Say that you have three machines which is running Elasticsearch, and then each node is running its Elasticsearch process. So now you have indexes which can spread across. So all the colored ones are indexes, and then you have apps, meta, content, or different indexes with each having different name. And this is how, if you put it in a visualized manner, it looks like in an Elasticsearch cluster. Then the apps contain the shards. So the shards are the ones which does the internal work. So if you are really not worried about like, okay, what is a shard, how do I manage it, so no need to worry about all of that. So you can just look at the shards and like say simply like look into the indexes and be done with it. And one of the advantages of joining the cloud is you all of these complexities get hidden, and you can simply work with the Elasticsearch endpoint. So basically, there are two types of shards again. Like again, talking about primary shard. Primary shards are responsible for creating a document, updating a document, or deleting a document, and your replica shard helps with reads. That means it helps you to maximize your reads and gives you like fault tolerance, scalability, and important for read heavy architecture, etc., etc. So these are the details that you can get to know as you start building more and more stuff. So this is one another thing. So if you put in all of this in like a very large visualized manner, then you would be able to find out cluster indexes, charts, documents, and each one of this actually. So there are multiple node types in Elasticsearch, wherein if you see that each node type has a different details, and then like you have data nodes, coordinating nodes, ingest node. Each node does a specific functionality. Like master nodes are the nodes which control the cluster. It takes all the administrative overload and does a lot of things. Data nodes it's different from different there are different types of hardware attached to it, then it becomes hot, warm, different sort of data nodes. But you could look at that as well. There's also called coordinating nodes, wherein like you could route requests, handle search, handle different type of queries. Sorry. And also it can also do distributed indexing. Like you can distribute the indexing load to different nodes as well. So what powers Elasticsearch? A lot many people keep asking the question like, what is the thing that powers Elasticsearch? Elasticsearch is powered by a Java library, and it is nothing but it's called Apache Lucene. So Lucene is a full text search library, but Lucene is a library. It's a jar, and it doesn't have any API architecture, and that it is written in Java. And then I have high regards for Java, but I meant to say that uh, you can't use any other programming language because it's like a jar. So what Elasticsearch has made is like taken Lucene and it has built a whole and so like a large ecosystem around it so that people can leverage it for larger use cases. So Lucene has completed 20 years and we are celebrating 20 years of Lucene this year as well. Then talking to Elasticsearch, there are different ways to talk to Elasticsearch, like say curl and different SDKs, like say clients, REST clients that are there with Java, Microsoft, JS, etc. Then there is also Logstash and Beats. If you are like me and like you don't want to like really use some sort of a programming language, just want to configure and get data into it, Logstash and Beats are way to go. So simple way to put it is like if there are three nodes in Elasticsearch, and then you have like multiple shards. All the green colored marked ones are called say the primary shards. Are the R0, R1, R2, and several other things are replica shards. And you could see that the shards are spread over multiple nodes with a different sort of uh, P1 P naught is not there in same machine. Like I mean, like P naught and R naught are in the same machine, and P1 and R1 are not in the same machine. So these gray ones are the replicas for the primaries. So in case of like say the node one is gone for some reason, say networking or some sort of a bad disk kind of reason, then you will still have the replica of that data preserved in the other node. So when you index a document, it is there and it's fault tolerant and also highly available. So say that if you want to index a document like this, like say, as I said, it's in a JSON format. And here, when you talk about all of this, like customer is an index name, document underscore doc is a document name, and one is an ID name. And then when you put this one, you are literally like kind of, you will get a result something like this. So you are indexing data into Elasticsearch here. So this is how it literally comes in. Then you would also be able to index bulk amount of data. Like say there's a bulk endpoint through which you'll be able to do bulk indexing. All the clients, everything supports the bulk endpoint. So we recommend using that sort of the programming language client, the REST client that we provide for that specific language, so that it is optimized for using with Elasticsearch. And then I'll skip some of this, so maybe. And then we have something called mappings. So basically, when you put data into any RDBMS, like relational database management system, like MySQL or Oracle or PostgreSQL, you would definitely create a schema before putting the data inside, right? You create a table, and when you say create table, the create table structure works like create table name, and then where name is varchar number. I mean, like some other thing, ID number is like number. So you put all of this. So in Elasticsearch, we call it as schema free, not schema less. There is a schema for the data that is being indexed in Elasticsearch. So how do we do that? So basically what we do here is we do dynamic detection of schema, but we definitely recommend everyone to follow or look at their own schema actually. So which is very important. So when you do something, when you index the data like that, we kind of like find out, we kind of assume the automatically assume or detect the optimum data structure or a data type for it. So what I would say is like you could find out the schema that is needed for yourself. You don't need to do something of yourself like of this sort. So which is not, it's not needed as well. So going more into the analysis part, etc., etc., I would like to see if there are any questions if you want to ask, and I would happy to help. Okay, I checked the chat. There are not many questions at this point. We'll come back again. So we have very few more slides, and then we could probably take a look at the questions, and like yeah, we can also like uh, take questions or do anything. So basically, if you are looking at how this entire data is made searchable in Elasticsearch, it follows something called inverted index. So the entire data that is being ingested into Elasticsearch is made into an inverted a table which has say terms, the terms that are being stored, and then like you have frequency and you also have documents. So basically, the document IDs. So basically, if you have something like winter is coming, ours is a Fury, the choice is yours. You kind of like see that the terms are splitted across in tokens, and then the frequency is counted, and the documents are named. Suppose somebody says that winter is yours, a term that is a sentence that is spanning across multiple sentences. Then we would do the relevancy ranking and find out which is the most relevant document, say the first document or the second document or the third document. We'll rank that and we'll give you the result. So that is how this overall thing works. But more importantly, we also use a bunch of other techniques like analyzing the data. So if you remember, Lucene is a full text analysis jar. Elasticsearch is a full text search engine. That means like you could ingest text. You can also ingest text of different languages as well, and then that you could do all of this, right? So analyzer is something that that helps you to analyze your full text, the text, So we can analyze the character filters that are available. We can analyze we'll tokenize the data into multiple shapes and forms, and then you will also filter the tokens according to it. Say suppose now you have a single line. Say I'm so happy, and then we'll strip off all the unneeded characters like slash ends, etc. So character filters are something of that sort. Then if you and then we tokenize them. Say like we'll tokenize them into individual tokens, like whatsoever uh, terminology or language that it is followed. Like, provided that you give the right analyzer. Like if you want to tokenize a language, you need to give the right analyzer. Then you also have token filters. Like say for example, if you have something like fast and quick are the same names, right? So what we do is like we reduce some of these common words into a single word, and like whenever you search for fast, we also rank for the quick. Whenever you search for quick, we also rank for the fast. So these are some other token filters. There are many other token filters as well, which I'm not really discussing about, but which helps you to filter the tokens, like say remove the words which are not of most importance, like the, this, that, and also that is also possible. So Elasticsearch analytics capability come from an aggregations technique. Say aggregations for you is nothing but like say a select query which contains a group by, right? It aggregates and shows you some numbers. So Elasticsearch also has different types of like aggregations. Each aggregation has a different meaning and it does different work for you, like metrics, bucket, pipeline. There are different types of aggregations again which does unique things. Like say if you go to an e-commerce site like flipkart.com, on your left side you would see a pane with a lot of categories. When you search for something say like smartphone, right, you'll be able to see LG, Apple, Google, and multiple providers like Xiaomi and everything, right? When you click on it, that type of phone will come. It's a combination of filters, faceting. It's also called a search faceting. It's a combination of filters and aggregations that is being shown. Suppose like you will be shown a slider where it say like, okay, 5,000 rupees to like 15,000 rupees. So where does my phone land in? Look, no, I want to find a phone in range of like say 7,500 to 10,000 rupees. So if that is your budget, you would put that. That's a query that gets executed in the behind. So aggregations are the ones that help you to do that. There are a bunch of aggregations which does amazing things. And at the same time, it end of the day, everything that goes to Elasticsearch is a query, right? And on the search point, so we have a search endpoint. Everything that goes onto Elasticsearch is a query. So here, when you're seeing something like querying the data, there are multiple types of queries. We'll quickly go into some of these queries, like say something like a match query. This is like a select star query for Elasticsearch, wherein you do select star from a table, everything gets selected for. So similarly, if you are looking for select some specific columns that you want to go and search for on that, like subject and message. This is a multi-match query. At the same time, you also have term queries, which is like select, which is I'm trying to compare it with SQL because like you might know more about SQL. So suppose if you are looking for something very specific, like say a specific user's handle, like Twitter handle, you have tweets and you want to find out tweets from a specific handle. So this is one of the look at thing to look at. Then there are multiple queries, like something like a bool query, which is like if else query, which is having a lot of filters, which is having like a lot of conditions, etc. So there are nested queries and more. So each of these, right, does different functionality. There's also something like geoquery. Through geoqueries, what you can actually do is there are multiple ways to like kind of search your geographical data as well. You ingest all of this data into Elasticsearch, like the points, like the longitude, latitude points. And if you want to find something there, that is another interesting way to go and look at it actually. So using this, you could create a large scale architecture. You can connect to multiple data systems, say the entire Hadoop ecosystem, which is in the below, and or something like a message queuing system, or even you could use customs like our own beats to push data into Elasticsearch, and then like you could put up your custom UI, your React.js, Flutter, Angular, or any other framework. Right? You can use that as well, or you could pretty much like do anything and everything with the Kibana. Then you entire thing. The Elasticsearch comes with a free basic security. That means like you could always secure your Elasticsearch. So don't think that Elasticsearch is not secure. It is up to you. You should definitely open up the security and secure all the instances that you have deployed at any point of time when you're trying to go to the production. So make sure that you do that. So I'll quickly jump off from the capacity planning and show you some links so that like you could leverage all of this thing. Actually, this is a brown. This is what we call as brown bag, something very basic to get started with the technology. So if you are looking at this, please go ahead and like click on this link. You will get more resources. You get the presentation, and you would also be shown my email address, and my Twitter is open for DMs if you want to ask any specific questions. So that brings us to the end of session. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, you could always DM me. Anything else? So you could always ask questions on our discussion platform, discuss.elastic.co, or you could email me, aravind@elastic.co, or you can also DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open for everyone so that you can ask questions if you have anything. I'll probably, it might take some time for me to reply, but I would definitely reply and send and direct you to some of the place. We also have our Slack channel. You could join a community Slack group, ela.st slash slack slash ela.st slash slack. So you could do that as well. So what I'll do is like I'll quickly you could always like you could do that as well. So I'll just quickly type that so that you can post it in Slack. You could post in the chat box. So great. If you are having more and more questions, and I would definitely happy to answer either one of these platforms. So yeah, if you have any more questions, please ask in the chat. So you could get started quickly with the Elastic platform, and then and this is a Elastic Cloud. I have just created a deployment. You would always do that, and you could ask more and more things actually. So please go and register here. I'll share you a link as well, so that if you want to just get started with the cloud platform, I'll share you a link so that you could also use it for you could also get started with that also. So there's a trial link which is specifically provided for the community. So if you want to like deploy an instance and try all of this, it's very easy to get started as well. So please go and look at it as well. Great. Other than that, I think it's a really nice session. I enjoyed speaking to you all, and I look forward to do more of these demo sessions as well. So please let me know if you are interested to hear about any specific topic other than basic sessions. Happy to do and happy to help in each one of this. Great. Thank you. And thank you, Script Foundation, for the opportunity to speak. It is lovely talking to you all. And it's a great, have a great day. And looking forward to speak to you very soon again. Thank you. Bye.